Good evening, viewers. Today I am going to tell you about the time series. Okay, so what is this time series? All these things I am going to tell. One of the most important tasks before economists and businessmen is to make estimates for future. In this connection, one usually deals with statistical data which are collected, observed, and recorded at successive intervals of time. Such data are generally referred to as time series. See, nowadays, what is happening is for economists and for the businessman, they want to know about the future prospects, how they are, in what way their business is going to be. All these things they want to know. So, for that purpose, they have to take into account the statistical data, and this data it depends upon the time period, successive periods of time. So, whatever it may be, the data that was collected basing upon the time, we'll call that thing as time series. Okay, when we observe numerical data at different points of time, the set of observations is known as time series. Hence, in the analysis of time series, time is the most important factor because the variable is related to time, which may be either year, month, week, day, hour, or even minutes or seconds. This is about the time series. Now, when you take into account the definitions of time series, Maurice Hamburg, one statistician, he told, a time series is a set of statistical observations arranged in chronological manner, that is basing upon time. So this is the definition given by Maurice Hamburg. And what are the various things that we will come across when we go for time series? Okay, what is the utility of time series? That is usefulness of time series. The first one is it helps in understanding the past behavior. What is the past? Okay, how the past is, and people how they are going, how they are behaving in the past. Second one is it helps in planning future operations. What we have to do in future. So that thing we'll come to know when we go for time series. It helps in evaluating current accomplishments. What are the accomplishments? That is, what are the things that we came across, we have done. Okay, taking into account the current period. It helps in evaluating current accomplishments. It facilitates comparison. So you have to compare for the present to the past or for the past to the present. So this is the usefulness of time series. Now, components of time series. What are the components or elements of a time series? The components or elements of a time series are secular trend, seasonal variations, okay, cyclical variations, and irregular variations. These are the various components or time series. First one is secular trends. It means generation or age, hence secular trend movements are thought of as long-term movements. Okay, taking into account the age, okay, taking into account the age, whatever we come across, it is nothing but secular trend. Now, seasonal variations. According to seasons, you will come across variations. So those things we will call them as seasonal variations. For example, in summer, you will come across something. In winter, you will come across something. In rainy season, you will come across something. So what are the variations that we are coming across? Okay, when we go for a businessman, for example, I'm telling you, when we go for a businessman, in rainy season, he will always concentrate to sell the raincoats, umbrellas, like that, waterproof jackets, like that, he will concentrate. And in summer season, he will give importance for cotton cloths. Okay, cotton cloths, where we won't get any disturbance from sun rays. So cotton cloths, he will prefer to go for that. And in winter season, he'll take into account the woolen coats, okay, mufflers, all these things he will give importance. So this is nothing but seasonal variations. It is a repetitive and recurrent pattern of change which occurs within a year or short-term period of time. Factors that cause seasonal variations are climatic and weather conditions, customs, traditions, and habits. These are the two conditions that we have to take into account when we go for seasonal trends. Okay, first one is climatic and weather conditions. So you have to give importance for climatic conditions, weather conditions, all these things. Okay, that's why I told you that in rainy season people prefer to go for raincoats, umbrellas, and waterproof jackets. All these things they will give much importance. And customs, traditions, and habits. Okay, taking into account the various people, different people they'll follow different customs, okay, traditions and habits. According to those customs, traditions, and habits, automatically you'll come across the variations, and that depends upon the time, seasonal time. For example, when you go from November to February or March, whatever it may be, okay, you have to face the winter. So there you want to go for woolen clothes, okay, all these things, sweaters, mufflers, all these things they are required. And after March, April, May, completely a sunny day, there you will prefer to go for cotton cloths. Okay, they don't want to wear this silk cloths or polyester cloths because the season it is like that. Okay, next, when you go for rainy season, already I told you about that. Next, cyclical variations. Cyclical variations, that is, when you go for a cycle, okay, it will go front, and wherever you start again it will come to that stage. So cyclical variations. Cyclical variations are business cycle movements or recurrent up and down movements around secular trend levels which have a duration anywhere from 2 to 15 years. This is about the cyclical variations. Next, irregular variations. Irregular variations means they are not regular. They are not regular place. Irregular. These are also called as erratic, accidental, endowed. Erratic, accidental, endowed. It is comprised of non-recurring sporadic, sporadic forces which are not attributed to trend, cyclical, or seasonal factors. So that's why we will call them as irregular variations. Next, preliminary adjustments before analysis of time series. That is, what are the adjustments that we come across when we are going for this time series analysis. Before beginning the actual work of analyzing a time series, it is necessary to make adjustments in the raw data. The adjustments are, okay, calendar variations, next, population changes, price changes, and comparability. These are the various adjustments that we have to take before going and studying this cyclical way, I mean, the time series. Calendar variations. The purpose of adjusting for calendar variations is to eliminate certain spurious differences which are caused by peculiarities of calendar peculiarities of our calendar. The adjustment for calendar variation is made by dividing each monthly total by the number of days in the month, sometimes by the number of working days in the month, thus arriving at daily average for each month. This is about this thing, calendar variations. See, when you go for calendar to calendar, when you go for calendar year to calendar year, automatically you will come across some changes. And these changes you have to take into account. You have to adjust. before going for this time series, before studying for time series. Next, population changes. This is also very, very important. Previously, the population is very, very less, so we can able to assess the time series, okay, in a very easy manner. And when population is increasing day by day, when population is increasing day by day, naturally some changes you will come across, and you have to take into account the changes that we come across in population. Okay, some people they are migrating, and some people they are coming, and some people they are going, like that you will come across some variations and changes, and these changes they will have their impact on this study of time series. Certain type of data call for adjustment for population changes. To adjust data to adjust data for population changes, a very simple procedure is followed. That is, the data is expressed on a per capita basis, dividing the original figures by appropriate population totals. This is per capita. Okay, what is this per capita? Okay, when you go for national income, you'll come across this per capita income. Per capita income is equal to total income by number of persons, that is population, total population. So that is nothing but the per capita income. So when population, when it is changing, automatically it affects the time series. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to divide the original figures by appropriate population totals. That is the way for us to go for this time series. Next, price changes. Okay, so previously we will come across some prices, but afterwards you will come across so many changes in the prices. So what we have to do is we have to take into account the price changes also. So for what products the prices are increasing, for what products the prices are decreasing, we have to take into account all those things. Okay, for example, when we take into account the prices of onions, they increased recently. First, the prices of tomatoes they increased. Then okay, afterwards, what happened is the prices of onions they have increased. So we have to take into account the pop, not only the population changes but also the price changes. Okay, when the prices are increasing, that is, we have to take into account the economical factors. Okay, price of the commodity plus demand of the commodity, all these things you have to take into account. When the price of a commodity, when it increases, people what they are going to do is they are going to reduce their consumption. When the prices, when they come down, then automatically they'll start consumption of that product in a rigorous manner, so like this you'll come across the differences in prices. Okay, I'm sorry. An adjustment for price changes is necessary whenever we have a value series and are interested in quantity changes alone. So, basing upon this price changes, automatically the quantities also they will change. Since value is equal to price per unit multiplied by the number of units sold, the effect of price changes can be eliminated by dividing each item in a value series by an appropriate price index. Since value is equal to price per unit multiplied by the number of units sold, the effect of price changes can be eliminated by dividing each item in a value. Okay, each item in a value series by an appropriate price index. That is about the price changes. Next, comparability. For any meaningful analysis of time series, it is necessary to see that the data are strictly comparable throughout the time period under investigation. That is, you have to take into account the comparison between the past year as well as the recent past and the modern. The past year, recent past, and today. The cut is nothing but the current period. Like this, you have to take into account the comparison, and the data must be in that way that it should be easily comparable. Now we are going for methods of time series. The various methods that can be used for determining trend are freehand or graphic method, semi-averages method, moving averages method, and method of least squares. These are the four methods that we come across in order to find out the trend. Okay, when you go for this time series, one thing you have to keep in mind is trend values, how the trend will be. Okay, how the trend will be. Don't be of that opinion that trends is the shop. Okay, that is trend here means the way how the people they are going and how people they are welcoming the change. That thing is very very important. So there are four methods. First one is freehand or graphic method, second one is semi averages method, third one is moving averages method, and the last one is method of least squares. Freehand and graphic method. This is the simplest method of studying trend. The procedure of obtaining a straight line trend by this method is given below. Plot the time series on a graph. Examine carefully the direction of the trend based on the plotted information. Draw a straight line which will best fit to the data according to the personal judgment. This is about freehand or graphic method. Okay, next, coming to the second one, that is we have to take into account the data. Okay, and we have to take into account the time period, and we have to draw graphically. Okay, semi-average method. When this method is used, the given data is divided into two parts, preferably with the same number of years. After the data have been divided into two parts, an average of each part is obtained, getting 2 points. Each point plotted at the middle point at the midpoint of the class interval covered by the respective part, and then the two parts are joined by a straight line which gives us the required trend line. This line can be extended downwards or upwards to get intermediate values or to predict future values. So this is semi-average. Whatever it may be the data that was given to you, you have to divide that into two equal parts, and you have to divide that into two equal parts, and you have to take into account the average. The average. Suppose if you are given, okay, 7 or 6 years, then 3 years, first 3 years and last 3 years, you have to take into account the average and you will get a point, and that point you have to plot. Okay, you have to plot taking into account the class interval and the middle point. From that middle point you have to take into account a straight line, and you have to extend upwards or downwards. So thereby you can come to know about the trend values. Okay. Okay, you may ask me, sir, when it is even number, 3 we can, but when it is an odd number, say for example 7. So when you come across 7 years data, first 3 years you have to take, and second next 3 years you have to take, and the middle one you can leave. Okay, that is the most important thing that we come across when we go for semi-averages method. Okay. When 7 years are given, the middle year shall be left out, and an average of the first 3 years and the last 3 years shall be obtained. The average of the first 3 years and the average of the last 3 years we have to take. Thus we get 2 points, and we shall plot corresponding to their respective middle years, that is taking into account the average. Okay, 3 in the first 3 one, so middle one. Second, in that also you have to take into account the middle year, and you have to take into account the 2 points, and you have to plot. Okay, thereby you are going to come to know about this. Okay, that's what he is giving. When there are even numbers of pairs like 6, 8, 10, etc., two equal parts can easily be formed and an average of each part is obtained. However, when the average is to be centered, there should be some problem. Okay, so that thing you have to take into account. Okay, so with this, I am going to stop, and in the next class I am going to continue the moving averages and method of least squares. And when it is satisfied, please subscribe to my channel. And once again I'm telling you that those people who want to go for online tuition, okay, online tuition, my cell number is 9849238902. So those people who are interested can take the number and just ring up to me and take the services from me. Thank you very much.